Thank you, the Rainbow Six Esports.
You look very majestic.
Goofy dragon, I suppose. But
Another goofy dragon.
take us through Bank, because this could be our last map here in Sweden.
It could indeed. FaZe, start off our banning. FaZe. It's almost like those two words go so well together. Hibana to start things off. If you are unfamiliar with how Bank has been played out lately, Hibana, the queen of hatches as declared by Ubisoft, was their whole intent with her changes to having 2, 4, or 6 X-Kairos pellets used in each charge. She is very, very competent at removing the many hatches that litter the ground floor of Bank especially, so it's no surprise that a number of teams enjoy banning her away. The second one is going to be the Zero. We have not seen this banned away throughout the Major to my knowledge. Spoke about it in the previous map. Now has 2 hard-breaching gadgets, 4 cameras to use as information, a very valuable operator that I think some have been sleeping on, to be honest, Ace.
I'd agree with you. I was just going to come in and say exactly that to you, Des. You know, when you...
Oh, hive mind wavelength, mate.
This is it, Psychic Link confirmed. I think when you look at it like that and start actually putting it into words, 2 hard breach, 4 cameras that can zap utility.
Spear's not bad.
The Spear's not a bad gun. You start looking at it and thinking, hang on a minute, why have we not seen a lot more Zero? Cade and Valkyrie going to go as well. Valkyrie, no surprise whatsoever. Cade going to just be taken out, so it makes it a little bit more difficult to defend those hatches. Of course, when you're attacking into Locker's CCTV, there is absolutely no vertical available.
Parky Warky, someone did actually want me to ask a question of you.
Nope, start again.
Why do you... No, Parky Warky.
Absolutely not.
See, Pengu went as far as Parky. When you guys came on for the quarterfinal, you came on for the quarterfinal and he was really pronounced and going Parky, and we were just like, oh my god.
What's your question for?
My question was, why do you guys butcher football and call it soccer?
I don't know, because we care about more exciting sports.
I have got you to promise to take me to a nice hockey game one day.
That is true, yes.
Oh, absolutely. I'm in on that. I mean, we're just making plans here, but I'm in on that.
The next social then, boys. Yeah.
The downside is that the dates that were listed in the video earlier on about the 6 Invitational, unfortunately, the NHL is actually off during that time. They are competing in the Olympics, so they will be in China. Unfortunately, we won't be able to attend the hockey.
Well, I don't want to go anymore.
Okay, well.
Didn't want to go to Montreal anyway.
Bold of you to assume you'd be invited.
I know, right?
Anyway, let's look at Bank. Open area, very first defense for FaZe Ace.
It is going to be, they're not going to go down to that basement floor. We've seen this from them previously when they played here. They do like this site. There's going to be an opportunity for them to play on the upstairs. We can see already. Thank you, Cyber, for proving that one for me. He's getting up there on the Mozzie, just getting those pests out to try and create that lack of visibility. But NiP here, they're going pretty route one. They've got themselves straight away, opening up that window, opening up the peak hole through, and Pino, he, after droning, he's probably going to try and hold that out and see if he can catch anybody on that rotation.
I think it'd be a bit of a battle, to be honest, where you had Astro holding off towards one side with support from Bullet, and Souls was holding up towards just above the soft wall. So if he had tried to push his way in, it would have been pretty dire circumstances. Instead, Pino's going to rotate out towards Electrical, looking instead in towards the castle barricade. My god, I hope those guys downstairs in the talent room have got themselves a tranquilizer, because Bikini is going to be bouncing that we've got castle in this round. Tell me I'm wrong.
You are not wrong. He likes the castle, what can you say? Anywho, it looked like it was going to be a much quicker execute for Ninjas in Pyjamas, but instead they decide that they don't want the engagement, and for it, FaZe ain't going to get the smoke, as they would say. But some intel work to be done as now NiP takes square stairs. Those castle barricades down below will prevent them access into the staff area component. And Psycho is going to realize just how lucky he got in this long-range engagement with Cameraman. Psycho walks away with a single HP. Back for more, Cameraman says, to try to do some more damage, and he'll take out a bunch of Pino's HP.
Certainly will do. He's going to have to try and aggress forward here, but cautiously so. There's a little boost going to come into his health from Finker there. That's just going to replace a little bit of the damage, but needs to be very careful of this push onto Cameraman, who for the time being is just holding fast inside of Tellers at the minute. He's also got Bullet with him. They're just doubling up on this, really trying to prevent that access, because right now, NiP just can't get themselves established comfortably inside of Archives.
This grenade right now, it's an airmail for Cameraman. Bullet is credited with the very first pick, but they trade right back, and Bullet's still there. He's lingering and loitering inside of Tellers. Stealing checks, maybe one could say. Advantage in favor of FaZe with 45 seconds left to go. Psycho on main stairs, looking to creep his way down.
Did a lot of work, at least initially there. Kamikaze, once the wall got opened up, started to find their way inside, but a couple of traded kills really took the wind out of the attacking setup coming out of NiP. We're in that last 30 seconds, and we've said it so many times this series, guys, but they've got to make something happen with the little amount of time they've got left. This is when NiP looks shaky. Watch out for Cyber, who's banking up blue stairs.
An NiP classic here, pushing in the last 20 seconds, but they're going to be pushing into an Alder. There's the flank that you mentioned, Des. Cyber managing to get himself one, managing to get two. Bullet with one in the middle there, and that's going to be FaZe taking round number one.
That is absolutely going to be Cyber giving thanks to Yas for the inspiration after their game yesterday. Just saves it until the last 10 seconds. Comes up the top of blue stairs, downs one, and could have looked for a second or third kill, but opted to play it defensively and let NiP just suffer in their own confusion. Good first round by FaZe, and NiP, they look pacey. They had control of square at like the 1 minute 30 mark. Well, got the wall open pretty quickly as well, but then sort of froze and looked a little bit lost on what to do next, to be honest with you. It's more of that indecision that we've seen missing from NiP. We saw it towards the tail end of Chalet, and I really hope coming into Bank we'd see them show a little bit of it here, but instead it's FaZe really taking advantage of, again, the confusion, the indecisiveness, and getting themselves on the board at the start.
It really did seem like the full focus for NiP was to take advantage of that printer portion of open area, swiftly get in, and then just hold the bomb site. And once again, NiP are a team that are perfectly capable of taking map control quickly, but then they stalled out. And there was a perfect answer back from the Maestro that we saw, taking out those Selmas, and it forced NiP to go up to square stairs and then pivot from there. But they weren't expecting the fight downstairs inside of Archives. They weren't expecting the late flank coming up blue either, and it completely derailed any chance of a retake on their end.
FaZe Clan this time, they're going to be defending all the way down in basement. The hatches are getting got, but they have also got presence up on the top floor. Des Cyber has already been up there deploying pests. He's been laying it down just to try and make it as difficult as possible for NiP to be able to push in on this top floor clearance. You've got your hand on your hip. You've been grinning at me for 20 seconds, Des. What is it?
Did you say the hatches get got?
Hatches get got.
Yeah, they get got.
They get got.
They got them.
So
to get them.
They get got.
Yeah, exactly. I don't understand what you're...
Terror understands. It's a problem.
Didn't you invent this language?
No.
And that was a perfect use of it. They get got.
Yeah, get got.
Common.
Get with it.
You're a pair of idiots. Let's talk more about the game and how it's progressing onwards. NiP already bleeding out on the drone count here as well. Only down 3. It's not the end of the world, but it's still got some more work to be doing. To lose so many inside the first 30 seconds or so, not going to be the most optimal start. But time and again, we've seen FaZe throughout this series leaning in towards the Mute and the Mozzie, for example, to slow down what is already a slow side. That's not changing in this round once more, with the Banshees coming out, the laser gates, the Jaeger, and of course, those smoke canisters too.
Starting to work now on the main floor. This can opener, the secondary hard breach gadget that Pino has available, will open up these two hatches, and that's an excellent choice of secondary gadget for Ninjas in Pyjamas, not really losing too much on that. But it also allows you to run that thermite however you like, as well as the ace. Neither of them are particularly good at opening up the hatches, and you have to pivot when Hibana is the operator that's banned from action.
Bomb located by attackers.
FaZe have all been pushed back down to the basement floor now. Cameraman working his way back in from Garage, but NiP, they've got plenty of time here, Des. 1 minute 30 left on the clock, starting to mount their push here. They've got themselves established inside of Garage. They're working the hatches. So far, so good.
I mean, that sounds like 20 seconds on NiP time is the problem here, Ace, knowing how slow they can move sometimes. Psycho finding out a cameraman has got control of Garage. So you're slowly starting to feel the enclosure, the pen tightening in on FaZe here, where the hatches are being played behind. They've got one threatening their way up through Garage, and for FaZe, they might be comfortable for now, but in these final 60 seconds, NiP should start pushing on the pressure. What I'm slightly concerned about is they're looking towards hatch drops here. I think they may be thinking about elevator, for example. They're thinking about the lobby drop. That makes things a little bit limited. And if FaZe have got their angles set up right, they can find kills. Astro is out inside a lobby and has already threatened one of those hatches. Pino is holding the angle. If Astro can find a second, that suddenly should be the big shutdown they're looking for. But elsewhere, it's Cyber and it's Bullet. They're essentially closing this round out here and now.
FaZe are really proving why they like playing on this map. In particular, there's salvation for Ninjas in Pyjamas in a 2v3 with 30 seconds to go, but this is a daunting task. There's 2 bodies from Kamikaze spotted, and I don't know if he can give that info to Pino. He can, but Cyber's there to clean up. And like that, FaZe are up 2-0.
What a start from FaZe Clan here on Bank. It's an absolute dream for them. 2 maps to 1 down. They have to win here on Bank if they want any chance of being able to take home the major title. And after the performance that FaZe have had, particularly towards the tail end of this year, I'm absolutely certain they would love to punctuate 2021 with that major title and, of course, the plaudits and prizes that come with it.
Absolutely. It's one of those where we all came in, well, not all, there are a couple of us, Bikini Body and Intero, both believing that it'll be NiP walking away the victor. They are, of course, still in the driving seat, and I don't want to get too excited for FaZe just yet. I would love to see them take this through to a 5th map and go on to win the whole thing. We feel they deserve it, especially after that incredible semi-final performance against Damwon Kia yesterday. It is only 2 rounds, though. It is the defensive side of Bank. Give it a little bit more time because NiP could pull out a real blinder when it comes into the second half.
Upstairs, we're going to go to CEO. Now, this is an interesting thing with this Bank rework, by the way. Yes, Des, we know that you are a CEO. We get it, okay? He just had to point at himself, by the way, in case
I've never made that joke before.
You know Des doesn't delegate tasks.
No?
He delegates them.
So you didn't make that joke ever before? You didn't ever need to make it, but that's okay.
The designation thing stuck around for a while.
Oh, it's still alive and kicking.
It's only because I got livid. It started because someone didn't go and get cutlery when we were sat around. I think it was at SI getting food. And I was like, right, we're going to get this sorted. And it's just kind of survived ever since.
He designated.
Why didn't you get the cutlery yourself?
I had to in the end. So ironically, I didn't
I
didn't delegate to anyone. I delegated to myself. They came up with the term, not me.
You didn't delegate to yourself. You were responsible for yourself.
Well, here we go.
Des, that's how it works.
Let's not use those terms.
I'll go get the cutlery.
It was for other people, okay?
FaZe have been penned in onto the top floor here as NiP start to work those exterior angles, getting themselves onto the rappels and just trying to force FaZe back. They've been able to do that successfully. We've got 5 in fact of FaZe present up on that top floor now. About as aggressive as they are being is Cyber playing out in stock corridor. For the time being, NiP will continue on their journey on the rappels, looking to see if they can catch anybody out on a tight angle from those windows.
Good patience now with a minute off of the clock. Control lobby, then move up those main stairs to the place affectionately known as Banana, and you'll find yourself in good shape. Bullet will be holding down that particular angle, just watching. I don't know if he's going to move at all. There's a couple bodies there. Well, the focus from NiP is split. They are so fixated on lobby that while we watch this, and there could be a nade kill here, but it's caught by the Wamai disc. At the same time, NiP is putting a ton of focus over towards square stairs. And boy, oh boy, what an ADS that was to save the lives of Bullet.
It was quite smart because Kamikaze opened the wall, got the wall down with the exothermic, but didn't open it immediately. Back out on the rappel and then pulled the trigger. You saw the C4 come singing back through from, I think it was Astro, trying to catch Kamikaze out, who we assume would step back from the wall. So smart play coming out from Kamikaze. A good read on the situation and keeps himself alive. The challenge now is that 3 members of NiP are playing on the windows. They've got to make something big happen, and the smokes coming in indicate that's about to happen.
Cyber needed to get aggressive on stock window there. He tried it but couldn't find Muzi as Psycho looks to push in, but no, gets cut down as he heads into Janitor by Cameraman to start us off here with 40 seconds left to go. NiP, it's time to scramble, but they can't. Their Cameraman and Cyber getting in there with 2 for themselves. 5 versus 2 now, and it all falls apart for NiP as FaZe lock down their 3rd consecutive defensive
for this team, and they need to sort it out. So Mighty will be talking to the players and seeing exactly what needs to be fixed. FaZe going through that first cycle rotation looked very confident every step of the way. I really liked what NiP brought in that very final round that we just witnessed, attacking both square as well as lobby. We'll see if they learned anything from it, because there were a couple engagements there that really did change the course of that round. 4th round now, open area back to the very first bomb site that FaZe went on to.
NiP have not, for me, been able to disrupt FaZe quite enough yet, and that's, again, something that they're going to need to work on here. As you said last time, they did try that split push. They did try to play into the defense of FaZe and just break them apart a little bit, but the nades were already expected. It just felt like FaZe were just a step ahead. You want to attack us on Banana? That's fine. We've got everything we need to stay here. You want to push towards stock? That's fine. We've got Cyber sat in there. You want to play the windows? That's fine, because we have got an answer. And so NiP, they need to bring something a little unexpected. They need to disrupt this defense.
I like the timing of the timeout coming in after 3 rounds as well. And we've seen the 3 sites that were likely to rotate back through. Does mean, okay, we've seen all 3. We know what went wrong, or at least they assume they do. They know what went wrong in each of those attacks, and they can start to work on that. What concerns me about the last one especially, again, is it's more stylistic for NiP to look for the closing kills, to go for kills rather than for the execute. So keep a close eye on these next 3 rounds. See if you identify a change in playstyle where they do try and look more to go for plants. That would be a big transformation away from what we know of NiP, but maybe that's the call that's been made.
Well, we'll see about that. The same areas being opened up that you'd want to see are currently in effect. That's inside of the lobby. A bit of a difference now, as we talked about this in the very first round. NiP's focus was on that copier portion, and oh my, what a blind spot now as Cyber manages to, and he'll turn on and go for it. We call that one the Assassin's Creed. He'll land right on top of him, and he's expecting to get pushed by Kamikaze. Cyber has him back now. There's no way that he's just going to continue to waste this time, right? Eventually they'll get to him. Psycho's the one in tow. Maybe Cyber might take Kamikaze down as well.
Oh my word.
See his shadow, by the way. They know he's here.
What is this? The man's fallen off a heist. He's finally going to get himself brought down. But I thought he might find himself a couple more in. However, think about that time that's arguably going to waste as well. They've had to reallocate resource away from the primary objective and instead worry about going to deal with 1 player. So sure, it's 1-for-1, but we're 90 seconds in.
NiP are tilted. You can see that. That missed grenade, the scramble, the panic. They just went on a wild goose chase. That 8:40 seconds off of the clock. And what did they get for it? They got a near mortally wounded Cyber to begin with.
It was a roll of the dice from Cyber, but boy, did it pay off with a 6-6. He couldn't have got any better, taking a life and taking that time. Now then, they continue the push NiP here, now that they've got themselves sort of back on track, if you will, but they've got a lot of work to do, and that is not where this NiP team has been excelling so far today. Short of time, lots to do, has not equaled a good outcome for them a lot of the time. Julio is going to get the kill onto Bullet, so they at least have a man advantage, but I'm not sure they're aware. Oh, Psycho's going in there. For him and somehow finds the kill. Cameraman, he had every opportunity, but just couldn't get the kill.
Soul's obviously frustrated with that impact, sailing over top of the Thermite. Now it's Astro the one to try and hold this down. His 2 teammates, well, he's good enough for 1, but the body falls and drops him in that position. Julio will try to collect along with Kamikaze and Uzi. It's a 3v1, and right now NiP are in great shape. Oh, this bullet tree from Soul's being tossed out. He's going to need a reload. Oh, no. No, he's in a bad spot.
No. I know exactly what you were going for there. A terrible spot. Steps in. It's an easy closeout as well. If he had a few more bullets left in the Elder, just maybe, he could have found himself a saver towards the end. But NiP finally break the curse, get themselves on the board. It's just a start here, boys, or lads, as I should say, but hopefully there's more to come.
Tactical timeout just before the round. I'd like to say it's maybe made a bit of a difference, but there was a bit of luck in there for NiP as well. You know, maybe they need to try FaZe wasting nearly a minute of the round and having a player outside for half of it. Maybe NiP need that to happen more often. Maybe that's one of their win requirements.
Not entirely certain. I mean, here's the one thing that I want to look at as well. That was the very first death for Cyber thus far in this matchup. We talked about his stats until we were blue in the face on Coastline. 16 and 3 on Coastline. The next 2 maps, he disappeared. He disappeared.
Oh, I've got a great one. I'm going to find out. I'm going to go message Spencer and try and get some new stat. You boys carry on for a minute.
Did the middle of my sentence interrupt the start of yours?
Yeah.
I apologize.
Please end sooner next time?
I'll try to fix that in the future. Once Cyber shows up, the rest of the team's fortunes do well. And obviously this isn't to slag off on all the other players on FaZe, but when Cyber has a very good day, and there are days where he does exceedingly well. He was the top-ranked player in all of this event for a long period of time. When Cyber shows up, the rest of the team does well. When Cyber goes cold, the team really suffers. There has not been somebody who can fill that void thus far in these 3 maps when Cyber fails to play up to his standards.
FaZe starting off pretty much the same as they did last time they defended down in the basement. Cyber's going to be up on the top floor with the Mozzie. He'll have pests in place to try and keep the drones off him. What he wants is for NiP to have to face check everything as they come around here to give him a little bit of an advantage in the gunfight. But as you can see, it's only sort of a half roam, a semi-roam if you will, because he's playing on those main stairs. So Cyber is less than 5 to 10 seconds away from site realistically. He can move back down there quite quickly and easily, but his presence still burns a lot of time because NiP can't ignore it. They've got to clear this top floor.
He's the drone collector essentially, right? He's here to kill a couple of drones and then hightail it back downstairs, back to safety, and he might just be about to find Kamikazes actually, who just about avoids death. It's in a position more than anything else where it's if we can burn through more time, burn through more information, NiP, a categorically slow team, will be slowed down even further in Terror.
Absolutely. A minute to go right now. Patience and discipline were the name of the game for a long time, and if you're playing a drinking game at home, water, of course, no other beverages can be consumed, then, you know, drink that water because we said patience and discipline. They'll drone out that top floor and then immediately move to the mid floor. I am a little surprised that FaZe didn't want to go back to this bomb site on open area. Maybe it was just simply too dominant of a performance from NiP in their eyes. They'll go back down to the bomb site that's just opened up, which is CCTV, or rather, yes, CCTV and lockers down below.
Indeed, it is. For some teams, they like playing through the same 3-site rotation, just sticking into a rhythm. Others will repeat a site when they fall flat. I mean, oddly enough, FaZe is the team I remember being the biggest, falling foul of that rule. I remember against, I believe it was Empire on Cafe. They tried top floor 5 times in a row and couldn't quite get over the finish line. And that was the time I look at it and go, okay, now we're into genuine insanity territory. As it stands, this time on the downstairs at least, FaZe are holding strong. They've got 3 players committing into the bottom side hold, but it's a grenade that comes singing in from Musa to find Astro. And this is where the pressure starts building in the final 60 seconds.
That gets us underway. Cameraman, he's going to find Pino though, and still Servers is in the possession of FaZe Clan right now. NiP unable to break their way in. It didn't hurt them too much in the last round, but it's not going to be easy in this one. There's work to be done. They need to get access onto site itself as well. There comes a second from FaZe. Cameraman Souls giving them the advantage. 4 versus 2 now, surely not a third. You can't keep slow peeking that door.
Blast you away with a shotgun for fun if you're given the chance. Kamikaze's up on top, but they've reactivated the laser gate as well. Another thing to be concerned about. Julio looking to step his way into blue stairs. So they have got the option, but Souls finds the spray down. Doing a wonderful job on blue stairs this round. Finds himself 3, and NiP unable to get even step 1 on the checklist complete.
Now, that was really tough for them. Blue stairs control never being surrendered at all. And how many players can NiP just keep throwing at that problem? Ace, you said you can't keep slow peeking them. Well, 2 of them tried to fast peek him, and guess what? They both died as well. So this is the problem. Look at this coordination. At some point, you need to be a bit more aggressive on that. They take out the Jaeger, but there's always somebody from FaZe in that position because 3 players from FaZe Clan, 3 of them, were all in similar spots. You saw Astro, you saw Cameraman, and then, of course, you saw Souls all wreaking havoc from blue stairs, and it's not like there wasn't enough utility on the side of NiP. They were just poorly coordinated, or they were as coordinated as they could be, but just simply didn't have any intel or information, and they ultimately struggled to gain one part of the map and then couldn't even translate to an execute.
We head into round 6 then. FaZe will continue with the final defense of their defensive half. They will then move on to the attack for next round onwards. It's going to be the top floor once again, CEO. They won this site back in round number 3. We haven't seen them go back there since, but NiP got absolutely nowhere near. I think it might have even been flawless for FaZe in that round because NiP tried to work the rappels, tried to work the windows, tried to work the square skylight, just could not find kills onto FaZe.
They've got a saucy Psycho in this round. Glass being brought along with the 4 smokes on side as well. We've seen it very selectively throughout the major so far. I'm looking back towards Sandbox in particular. Did it a couple of times. What are you shaking your heads at now?
I think NiP bringing the glass, I'm just not sure it's the answer to the problem.
I think it's, yeah, questionable.
Yeah. I don't know. I long for the days of the Glaz Ying meta. I really do. I do. I miss it a little bit. And then I know that I'd cast 1 or 2 of those matches and be like, okay, this can go away now. But it was something that we were actually talking about offline yesterday evening.
We were, yeah.
Going over the grand finals today is how we really haven't seen Glaz emerge all that often. Pocket picks here and there. But by and large, he's been completely absent. And in fact, he's actually absent right now because that thing in the bottom left is completely covering him over, so...
We were discussing what do you call the current method that we're in. We kind of settled on the explosive one, right? I think Jess was part of the chat as well. We said, you know, lots of frag grenades, lots of Gone 6s in play. It's very aggressive, very, well, quite literally explosive. So I don't know what you want to call it. Maybe you guys can let us know at home what you think the current meta is best described as, because heaven knows at this point we were just theory crafting and I'm taking a guess.
What does it take to call next meta?
On the next episode, you'll talk about how to define a meta. Can't wait. Give us a voice line about that.
Absolutely not.
No, please do.
What does it take to call next?
And then the next bit about join us as we...
No.
Come on.
No, you've gotten all you're going to get.
No. Later.
NiP have got themselves established now. They've got 2 on the window repels. They're looking to pressure from Square Skylight as well, but time is ticking away. They've got the breach pulled off from the Kamikaze, and from the Thermite of Kamikaze rather, and they've got that access into site now. The breach is open and access is there, but they're not in a position to start pushing forward, and this is pretty much what we saw from NiP last time around. They're going to use that smoke canister, try and get Psycho active on the glass. He's using that thermal scope, but he's not seeing anybody, and there is the answer to the glass, who didn't bring to the table what they hoped he would. It's Astro putting him down.
This is full tilt right now for Ninjas in Pyjamas, and Psycho is just out of action, moving, not allowing that sight to regain its ability to see through smoke. That's a crucial mistake, and very well read by FaZe as they decide that the engagement is worth having face to face. Yep, we're going to try to swing in through the windows, but this is a desperate time, and it calls for desperate measures as there's an unfortunate team kill, so much so that the rest of NiP are dying in the middle of the site. Frustration reigns right now as finally Julio gets a pick, but it's going to leave Pino on Repel in a 1v3. Still watching intently, but this round is effectively over for NiP. He'll go onto the roof and give his team an extra bit of time. The timeout already taken by NiP. It was good enough for 1 round, but just like Coastline, this is utter domination by FaZe. The first half, 5-1.
I'm a bit perplexed by the round in general. I mean, Glaz, we saw it coming out and thought, okay, surely there's something spicy to come. And the sad thing is, the rest of what they were going for felt pretty sensible. Kamikaze, this time on the site window, throwing in the smokes, looking to step in and go for a plant. The Glaz almost felt like a wasted opportunity or choice to have a different operator on side. Really, all Astro had to do there was just blast into the smoke blindly with a shotgun and find the man that he was looking for, the team kill like you mentioned. Right idea, just god-awful execution in that round from NiP.
That's it, and I think, you know, Parker, you said it earlier that they just look like they're tilting at the minute, and I think that's the reality. That's what we're seeing there. You know, the moving pieces, they're just not working with each other. They're not interacting as they should be, and things are tough for NiP right now. They're going to move on to the defense. Maybe this will offer them the stable base that they need to build on. At least here, they have a focus. They have a sight. They don't have to try and work around somebody else's setup. It might be just what NiP need in order to be able to turn this one around. Looking on the defensive side, Pino bringing along the Warden, always an interesting choice. We'll see how impactful that is as the round goes on. Potentially, obviously, there is the shield, which is going to be the #1 reason a lot of the time. We don't see the gadget featuring too heavily generally.
Now, I was very rude earlier on in cutting up Parker. However, that was for good reason. I've now found an answer. Interestingly enough, just a few minutes ago, Cyber broke the all-time kill record for a major, breaching past Alamau and Levy, who were at 158 in Mexico. He needs to get over best of 5 kills. He needs to get 15 on this map. If he gets 15 or more in this map, or of course across the next map, assuming we go there, he also breaks the best of 5 kill record. Guy's having one hell of a tournament, although it has been quiet for the last couple of rounds.
Yeah, he was up 6-0, and then through the last 3 rounds, he's had a single, he had that 1 death and then nothing else for the last 2 rounds. So, a bit of a silent approach for him, but he's the Buck, so he will very likely be one of the main points of the spear for FaZe as they work their way into open area, or at least close to open areas. They're inside of that staff room right now. Cyber hears the bullets of the shotgun Mira's sidearm from above, but where exactly do you go through it? I hope that you do some damage. You'll be able to hear those bullets hitting the armor of Mira, but she stays, she persists in that spot.
NiP playing in a very small area at the moment, just around Janitor and the conference table pretty much. They've really been pinned back in by this FaZe attack, who is clearing utility as it goes. They've got themselves established in Square Skylight now. Psycho, however, has managed to get himself on the underneath with the Wamai. He's being hunted down by Cyber, but he's just playing a tricky game at the minute, Des. He's on and off those main stairs. He's up, he's down. It's going to be difficult for FaZe to keep a track of him.
He's up and down like a yo-yo, basically. They're going to try and catch him on the bounce, but he's keeping himself busy up on the top floor, at least for now, watching off towards the long angle, hoping that someone comes to try and challenge their way up Square. But for FaZe, it has been a bit of a slower start than even what we saw for NiP back in the first half. Still settling on exactly what the game plan is, but keep your eyes on the prize. Souls himself is the one who's got that diffuser in back pocket, and as soon as he gets towards the critical window, that's when you know it's go time.
FaZe looking to push to match point here as they've already softened up Muzi quite a lot, but Muzi still reigns supreme. Upstairs in stock, if somebody pushes through the double doorways or looks in that particular direction, then the Echo will be able to fell him quite well. This has been the main focus, though, on that particular area, as now Muzi scampers off, not wanting to be part of any of that aggression that was coming in from FaZe. We return to Cyber, still in the exact same position that he was in 1 minute and 20 seconds ago, down below inside a break room.
That said, he did move back out. He did try and push him towards Square, but as soon as they saw the Echo inside of stock office, that's when he went below to force Muzi out. Now he's going to get challenged on Bleepers, but oh my god, finds him and really shouldn't have found that kill because Muzi had full awareness of where he was. But this breach being opened up by Souls, they're looking for the execute, and they were excellent at this part yesterday, especially coming in against down 1 Kia. They find 2 more. It's a 5 versus 2. FaZe are going to step themselves up to match point. It feels like match 5 is very, very close.
Oh, and another flawless round for FaZe. Through the 4, they have taken all but 1, a single timeout for NiP, and that was it. FaZe Clan very firmly in control right now, barely breaking a sweat. They know what needs to be done to propel us to Cafe, to set the scene for the very final map. It is almost a guarantee that 5 maps will be played between these teams. How about 2 flawless from FaZe? What are they doing right now? What aren't they doing wrong? Well, the answer to that is so far very simple. Everything.
I think, to be honest, it looks like this map was won in the map ban phase, just being able to bring that bank along. FaZe are just so strong here that it doesn't look like there's many teams in the world would have been able to do anything to stop them. Here on the attack, what did they do? They pulled NiP from pillar to post. They started to push through Banana. They had men on Square. They had Cyber underneath on the book, opening up angles. Nobody could stand still inside a site, but there was nowhere really for them to run to either. They were running into the angles being held by the players on rappel, for example, and they were just cut down as they tried to do so. Ultimately, those circles that they had to play in safely just got smaller and smaller and smaller as the round went on, and that's why you saw in that final 30 seconds just kills raining in for FaZe because there was nowhere left for NiP to run.
Let's see how this round plays out for NiP, because they're the ones who have got a mountain to climb. 5 rounds back-to-back required, and they're hedging their bets on this heavy intel denial comp against FaZe. Leaning into the Vigil, leaning into the Mute and the Mozzie, with the Mira and the Melusi to sit behind and be a little more defensive on once it comes round to the execute in the later stages of the round. But FaZe, with how good they've looked throughout this map so far, even that feels like a bit of a stretch for NiP to pull off against a team that is dead set on going through to Cafe.
Probably an interesting one to see which of these teams comes out ahead on, but Bank has been a brawl, and it's been very intriguing watching the way that these teams take each map round by round. FaZe ultimately have been just as aggressive as we expected every single time, but a big difference is whether or not NiP can expect that aggressiveness or that aggression and deal with it. This is a very interesting exothermic charge. That might also take out the barricade next to it. And if it opens up, there it goes. That's a safe entry right on in. Julio is left alone to deal with that. There's been a drone bothering him the entire time. Psycho spotted out, and he'll look to drop, and they'll open him up right to the window by Copier. But the guns from NiP finding their marks to start off with, and down goes Astro.
Psycho just slithering like a snake back into sight there, doing everything he could. He practically turned himself into water to keep himself out of those lines of sight. Gets himself back, and as you say, Muze with a very important kill onto Astro there, just really putting the brakes on that FaZe attack, because it was looking for a moment like there was the potential for them to take advantage of the low numbers inside a site. As it stands now, we've got Julio and Psycho back in sight for NiP, and FaZe, they're having to reassess things here. They're looking now to take top floor control. They're looking to pressure onto Kamikaze. They know where he's hidden, but there's just not much they can do at the minute because of the mirror window that's on the quad wall.
Sol's looking to try and snake his way in, but Pino elsewhere finds Cameraman, bringing us into that 5 versus 3. So no matter what it feels like FaZe can do here, it's got to be something big. These are the 3 that you want left alive in this situation as well. Cyber and Bullet, but Sol's the clutch master himself. They've got no information as they drop their way into square. That mirror window can't see anything, but they need to win a couple of fights. Julio petrified of the flank, potentially coming out of Sol's, and Bullet's trying to find what he can inside of Archives.
Bullet might actually see Kamikaze in this position. He is back up in case there's a push from Bullet to come on in. There'll be Cameraman watching alongside him, and there you go, the down and finish off onto Kamikaze, not expecting the retreat onto the square stairs. Falling is Cyber now, and a 4v2 for NiP. They look to hang on, still match point for FaZe Clan. This will be NiP right now, just staving off defeat, and FaZe somehow seeing Psycho, and he's gone from action. Sol's realizing there's a lot more work to be done. If he hops through that window, it's almost certain doom. Julio was still holding that angle. As now Bullet gets spotted out. Very minimal time remaining as he heads back to the square stairs. Doesn't know which hatch he wants to drop down. FaZe are toiling right now, and they are wasting so much time. All NiP needs to do is just sit pretty, and they will certainly take the round. And just like that, the last 2 players from FaZe very easily found. NiP have managed to win an incredibly important round to keep themselves in this map.
Sometimes I look at those round endings where both teams throughout the series have left it until the time is ticking down to the last 3 seconds, and then they make their push in. And one critique I always put against teams that leave things so late in general in terms of executes is you leave yourself no time for mistakes. There's no course correction you can take unless you win every single gunfight, and then you've got to scrap together what would be an execute with the post plant coming through if you're fortunate and know exactly where every other member is. I'd rather if it gets to say the 20-25 second mark and Souls have just walked up and found Psycho for free, you try and capitalize on the surprise that you've already led into. Otherwise you make things far too easy for the defenders. So I know what we've said throughout this series a few times, both teams are quite slow. We need to see a little bit more coordination. In those dying moments, thrive in the chaos. Don't make it easy for NiP to close things out, and that's how you'll get yourself over the finish line.
Not going to be easy for NiP here. There's still a long way to come back. Obviously 4 rounds required without mistake here to be able to get them through to overtime. As you said earlier, Parker, almost guaranteed that we will be seeing our 5th and final map as a decider of Cafe. I can't help but wonder in the back of my mind if it gets there, if we're going to see anything like the action that we saw yesterday in the semi-final, of course, in the final map between FaZe and Damwon Kia. Maybe FaZe are just fated to take it down to the very last round to get themselves a win.
Imagine you can go forwards in time and then backwards in time to rearrange the
time travel, if you will.
Let's say, absolutely, let's say that Cafe is available, and we rearrange the maps, and we put Villa as the final map. Could you imagine, gentlemen, us ending off this best of 5 with that Villa being the very final map? What an unbelievable and exhilarating just rush to the finish that would be, as both teams keep it as even as they did. But let's not get there just yet, because Cafe could be equally exciting, if not more. It would be a very long night were that the case. But we have to get through Bank first. And NiP are a team that you can never count out. Still very strongly possible that FaZe Clan will defeat them here on this map and send us to map number 5, but anything is possible in Rainbow Six.
As I said, something we're seeing a bit of a change coming in for Psycho. It's not quite the Glazg level of craziness that we saw before, but it is the Rook stepping in. This one more looking towards the long angle challenge coming in onto the Kanto wall. The right sort of idea, as you'll always get hard breaches. Look to open this, but that's for free. Astro should not be being taken out from there, but with no drones in place. In fact, I lied. Souls was in just behind. I'm a liar again. It's on the downstairs, that drone. So they didn't see Psycho. He gets a free swing out, brings down the ace. The problem is that wall is still opened up. So even though he's died here, I think they did enough to get the wall open. Did it not go off?
I'm not sure if it did.
Now it will. Now it will.
Now
It was
it will.
Pyjamas out.
There's some Mavericking below as well. Cameraman a bit sluggish on this one, but he's opening up enough to take care of that camera. And now, NiP are somehow finding their footing. FaZe might be in a bit of trouble.
Certainly could be. NiP waking up here as they've now got themselves onto the defense, and you just think maybe FaZe got that opening attack, but if NiP can get a bit of momentum, get things rolling here, then who knows. But let's remember, FaZe have got that tactical timeout in the bank. They haven't taken one yet, so there is an opportunity for them to use that to just put the brakes on a little bit if this one gets ahead of them. But let's not get ahead of ourselves in this round. NiP haven't got it won yet. It's 5 versus 3. They've got themselves a good advantage, but FaZe, they've still got the tools that they might need to do this job. They can clear out the mute jammer, they can open the wall with the exothermic. That's going to happen now. Access gain to site castle open, but as the castle opens, Pino is there ready to rip Cyber down and to put another nail in the coffin of round number 9.
And a 5v2 for NiP, seemingly bolstering their chances of going deeper into this map. FaZe really struggling here on the attack, and this is an extraordinarily defender-sided map that is only going to continue in that way. Another flawless was on the board this time for NiP, but it will not be accomplished. Instead, everyone's just going to push souls, and it was a rodeo inside of the main lobby. He takes 2 of them down before he himself is dropped, and that's 2 rounds in a row for NiP.
It's bleeding out members, not so much in a lazy way, but in unexpected ways for FaZe there. And before you know it, they're left with 2 to push onto the site itself, and a very half-baked attempt at wrestling away control. This one was the first great kill that came in. Psycho bringing down the ace there. Beautiful. It leaves them only with the exothermics to focus on trying to get things opened up. Pino had a very comfortable kill coming in here. So 2 freebies being given to NiP. It's very tough for a team to then go on to lose what is a 5 versus 3. Otherwise, we find ourselves sat at 6 and 3. NiP slowly starting to battle their way back in, and are we going to see another overtime, or can FaZe find the close out of this rut they find themselves in?
Here could come the potential problem for NiP though. Heading into round number 10, they're going to go back up to that top floor, Des. If you remember round 7, that was the last time we saw them defend up here. FaZe absolutely rolled over the top of them in that round. There was very little that NiP could do. FaZe had the windows, they had square skylight, they had main lobby. They just pressured NiP from every which way.
And look at the operator they turn to in their most dire of hours. It's going to be the Monty. We saw Psycho doing this for NiP earlier in the series. And now it's FaZe's turn to lean into that operator that hopefully can bring them some retribution as they attack into the top floor. Monty, fantastic as being that front line for your team. It's very easy to follow him just behind him, to look for kills around the back of him, for example, or just to have him be the kind of guy that draws out where the front line for your team is and you play off the back of that. Also handy in that he has 2 of those hard breach gadgets. So you've got the Thermite, you've got the Maverick, and of course you've also got the Monty with those on side.
What did you say about Monty?
He's got 2 hard breach gadgets.
Oh, what did you say before that?
He's a frontliner.
Why do... Dezichu, Dairy Hole.
Yes, mate.
Why do teams bring Monty?
Because they suck.
Do you remember what he said? He called it an... How do either of you remember? You called it an act of desperation.
I did just say that. The last thing I said literally was...
You just said it a bit more politely.
Yeah.
It's unusual.
Because they suck. That means act of desperation in caster terms.
It's not because they suck, but I agree with you. It does come down to...
It is. We need to try and get this...
You're falling short of ideas.
It's Psycho bringing glass.
Yes, exactly.
And guess what? That didn't work either.
Break glass in case of emergency. And in the case of Psycho, it was break glass in case of emergency. Here, you can come up with your own pun.
That was
Monty.
awful.
Yeah, well, deal with it.
He does that to me. I drop some killer puns and he just stands there and stares and...
Name one good
He
one.
turned himself into water, was excellent, and you didn't even react.
See?
It was very good.
I named one. Parker named it for me. Monty pushing up the main stairs for the time being. But more focus this time coming in from FaZe Clan on the main lobby rather than the square skylight. Interesting to see. Astro just going to continue working his way around there. He's going to break down this barricade. No doubt Psycho's going to get spotted out here, but manages to get a kill onto Cameraman nonetheless. That's the play for the Monty sometimes, is to just ignore it, but the kills start to come in. Bullet Souls getting two. Monty marches on.
Marching straight his way up the hallway. Almost got hit on the side, but just about turns in time to keep himself alive. The shield back up and facing the right way. Kamikaze hits the deck, and call it whatever you want, but the Monty is working wonders, namely off the back of Bullet, who finally finds his march stopped. But one comes in from the back. It's Julio on the flank. What more can he find? Gets res back up, and they've got the cover. Cyber finding it out. FaZe are set to close out the round and the game, unless Pino can work some magic.
Diffuser's down. No, Astro's got it collected, so Astro can now come in and think about getting that diffuser down. Pino, he is currently inside of the hallway, just trying to make a move here. Hit him on the flank. He's getting a lot of information from the red pings, but they know where he is. He gets one. Can he get two more? No! Shut down by Cyber from the rappel, and that's going to be FaZe Clan closing out Bank and taking us all the way to a fifth and final deciding map here in Gävle, Sweden.
Well, they said it was a best of 5, and they weren't kidding. Every single map is going to be needed, and we